Looking for the best in authentic Maltese cuisine? Then you need to dine at Georgie's on Vista. Situated in the heart of Fraser Eyes, you can't go wrong when it comes to family dining. We have a menu for mum and dad, one for the kids, and one for seniors. Everyone's taken care of. Don't miss our specialty nights. Tuesday night is Parma night, where you get to choose from not one, but 5 different Parmas. Wednesday night, kids eat free with every paying adult meal. Thursday night is members night, where members get the chance to win some great prizes. And Friday night, join us for happy hour between 5:30pm to 7:30pm. Jim, Johnny, Jack and their little brother Schooner are only $5 each. Looking to get an early start Friday afternoon for a punt? Our sports bar with TAB is open from 3pm Friday afternoons. To book your table, email info@georgiesonvista.com.au. Bring the family and come dine at Georgie's on Vista, 46 City Vista Court, Fraser Eyes, Plumpton.
Sport requires effort, sweat and strong will, and Macron knows it. A leading global company with Italian DNA in the production and sale of sportswear, when Macron first entered the sports world in 1971, it was a small yet strong player. Since then, Macron has been growing at a very fast pace, supporting teams, sportsmen and women at all levels, working hard to supply them with the best technical products to help improve their performances. With over 4 million pieces of stock available in our Italian warehouse and an extensive range of on-field, off-field and free-time products, we cater for everyone from amateurs to professional sporting organisations, even referees. Ranked 3rd most prominent football brand by the UEFA, Macron keeps expanding its presence worldwide, including Australia, where we are currently proud partners of Perth Glory, Macarthur FC, Port Adelaide and Parramatta Eels, and more to come. Work hard, play harder, Macron, your next teamwear partner. For more information, visit our website at www.macronvic.com.au or call us on 1800 Macron. Good evening and a very warm welcome to you wherever you may be tuning into this very, very special edition of the Football Outwear Show. It's episode 66 and it's all about the Euros tonight. And, my name's Tonchi Prusak. I'm pretty excited about what's going to go down over the next 12 hours or whatever. But I tell you what, nowhere near as excited as the men who are going to be on the show tonight with me, bringing you all the action. And Craig Filer, that is Craig Filer with the Donadoni hat or whatever he's calling it. And Steve Curtin. Gentlemen, how are we all?
Very well, Tonchi. Very well, Steve. Very good, listeners.
Lordy.
Oh, can't wait.
We are
for all.
Oh well, Craig's super excited, as am I. Now, Craig, is it true that you're going to be actually heading down to Lygon Street with that wig on?
No, because no.
Ah, damn it!
No, I'm actually going elsewhere to watch the game, Tont. So yes, I won't be going to Lygon Street this evening or this morning. Sorry, to watch it. But I certainly will be wearing my blue of Italy, my wig. Yeah, and I'm going to try and get my face painted as well beforehand. But just struggling to find some red paint.
Well, I do suggest Bunnings. They've got permanent paint, maybe, or watercolor paint. Maybe that beard would look really well if it was color coordinated with the wig.
Well, it's never all agree, that's for sure.
Steve Curtin, you've had a very, very busy weekend commentating games. We had the pleasure of commentating last night. Unfortunately, I didn't have the pleasure of commentating with you today. You're on your lonesome, as was I, actually. But, yeah, how's your weekend been?
Yeah, it's pretty hectic. I've actually just got a garden stake and inserted it as my spinal cord at the moment, just to keep me upright for this next hour or so. So yeah, hopefully we get through. But we've got the Peroni here to keep us going. So I couldn't find any British beer to our English fans. Sorry, I couldn't find anything that was warm enough to class as that. So sorry, that's a bit of a sledge. It's not just
Yeah, it'll all be warm and off.
I've got my cappuccino, as I like it. Yep. So we're all jumping into some sort of Italian/English flavor. It's all about the English and it's all about the Italians tonight. All of Europe turns its attention, and indeed all of the world. But gents, how good has this tournament been? Honestly, I think it's had everything. It's had its ups and downs. It's had its drama. Craig, first to you. How have you seen the last month or so?
Yeah, last month, Tonch. Oh, look, I think it's been fantastic. Given the challenges that everybody's had in terms of where games are played and how they're played and the numbers allowed at stadiums, I think it's been a fantastic success. It's something that I think the whole world needed, or certainly all of Europe needed. And, we're not European. Well, I am, but we're not in Europe, but we found it a real fascinating and a joy to watch. I think it's been brilliant, and it's all built up. And obviously, early hours of this morning, we've got the grand final. So loved every minute of it. Perhaps my eyes haven't, perhaps my wife hasn't, or certainly my job hasn't. But it's great to be involved.
Now, Steve, with all the attention focused on London and the epicenter of the football world today, Wembley, a lot of people have forgotten that at the same time, the Copa America has been happening as well. And that's been going on. Have you had a chance to catch any of that today, mate?
Mate, I would have loved.
Oh, what happened there?
To have watched the final of the Copa America today. And hello.
Yeah, we got you. We got you back.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Yeah, I would have loved to have watched the final of the Copa today, but there was a few things, including a 10K race, and then travelling to Melbourne to call a game, and then travelling back to do the show again. Didn't agree with that schedule, unfortunately. So I might catch some highlights tonight after the show, perhaps maybe a bit of.
Yeah, I did happen to watch it, guys, and I have to say it was a pretty drab affair. I've never known a game where the referees whistle blew so much for little silly free kicks. It just wasn't a football match. It was a kicking game for 90 minutes. As much as they're probably the most technical, gifted players in the world, as a football spectacle, it wasn't very good. But I'm sure there will be somebody that will disagree with me.
I'm sure. Football is a game of opinions, and I tell you what, it reminds me very much of the game I commentated this afternoon. I'm not going to mention which the games were, but it was just mistakes, turnovers. Alex Sivkorovsky, he's joined in on the conversation. He says, Messi, 17 years of Barcelona, no international trophies. Free agent for 1 month, international trophy.
Good work, Alex.
Fantastic, Alex. Good pick up there. Really good.
How is that? I put on Twitter earlier on today. How much of a travesty would it have been if Messi had gone through his whole career, and we know the number of championships he's won and trophies he's won at Barcelona, not to get some kind of title with arguably one of the biggest teams in the world in Argentina?
Yeah, well, and especially the frequency that the Copa America is held. Sometimes every 2 years. They had that centenary one as well. You'd think that he would have got a win there in one of them, but he's finally saluted the judges, and good on him.
Yeah, fair play.
Guys, keep the comments coming. We've got Maxi Santich. He suggests watch the second half, Steve. It had more hits than today's UFC.
UFC, actually, did you see that?
No, I didn't. Do tell us more about it.
Conor McGregor's not in a good way, hey?
No, it's not. I mean, if anybody's seen it, it is on social media. It wouldn't be right to post it on here, but he broke his ankle, and it's a horrible sight to see. But in the first round as well.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, at halftime today, cameraman Adam said, "Would you like to see this bit of footage?" And I said, "Not right now, thank you."
It's horrible. If you haven't seen it, get onto social media. I'm sure you can find it. It's it's bloody horrible.
Now, this one's for you, Craig. Pete Bradley from the Western United Football Club. He says, "Is that a Welsh wig, Craig?"
Haven't he found a hole yet? It's about time he found a hole. Doug started to dig one because he's going to get it for the next 50 years if England lose tonight. Let me tell you.
Yes, it's either going to be all the Italians coming out to party or all the English coming out to party. We're either going to hear a lot of.
He only pops up every now and then and gives abuse. That's all he does. He doesn't say anything any good. He just comes in with pigs.
Big shout out to Pete Bradley, gentleman of a bloke he is, indeed. Guys, we've got a massive show. Craig, who have we got lined up for tonight? Mate, some huge names, international stars.
Look, we have tried all week to try and get a few people on. We had actually got, as I said to you yesterday, we had a few in the background that we could have got on, but really pleased to get a chap who's I suppose the European football correspondent for in the UK, very well known in the UK. Also commentator, presenter. We've got Mr. Bloody hell, there we go. I forgot his name. Kevin Hatchard. Kevin Hatchard will be joining us in about 3 or 4 minutes, and he's going to talk to us about obviously everything England. And then on the other side of that, Tonch, we've got an Italian living in Moscow, married to a Moscow girl
from Melbourne.
In Melbourne, but is in London to watch the game, and he's managed to get one of 1,000 tickets that Italy have been given out of 65,000 for today's game. So we'll get and speak to Daniel Pagnoccolo, who's going to come on and have a chat with us.
How did you say that? Pagnoccolo?
Daniel Pagnoccolo.
If you're going to wear a wig like that, better improve your pronunciation. I think it's Pagnoccolo. Is that right?
No, Pagnoccolo. And then following that, Tonch, we're going to have another esteemed, I suppose, well-known voice here in Victoria, and the Oakleigh Cannons coach, who's also a proud Englishman, Chris Taylor, will be coming on, not only to talk about the Euros, but obviously to talk about Oakleigh Cannons' form this season. And I think they've played, if I'm not mistaken, 7 games in 21 days. So we'll have a chat with Chris about how that's affecting his players and his team.
Steve, how are you? So kind of you to join us.
Yeah, I'm back. I've been gone. I'm not sure where I went. Just down to the bottle shop, and I'm back on again.
Oh, you got to cut down on that drinking, mate. Come on, seriously. Yeah. I don't know. We just had some technical issues there, but you've managed to come back on. Steve, we were just going on about all of the amazing array of guests we're going to be having on tonight.
Yeah, I could still hear you actually. So
could you? Okay, well there you go. The sort of something is doing right. Craig, talking about the NPL competition. Geez, what a great game it was on Friday night. Oakleigh Cannons and the Melbourne Knights. One of those games that really could have gone either way. A lot of goal mouth action at both ends. But we're going to get a chance to talk to the Oakleigh Cannons coach, Chris Taylor, who has had a stint coaching at the Knights as well as at South Melbourne. So and was also involved at George Cross, which is our major sponsor as well. So I'm sure a lot of the folk that are tuning in will remember Chris Taylor rather fondly. So we'll be having him a little later on. But I think it's time, is it, to get our first guest? What do you reckon?
Yep. Oh,
let's get him on.
Let's get him on. And without further ado, mate, would you like to introduce our next guest?
Will do. So it gives me great pleasure to get this chap on. I spend most of my days driving around Victoria, listening to TalkSport Radio on a morning here, and he's a regular on the show. Welcome to the show, Kevin Hatchard. How are you?
Morning, gents. Very, very well. Very excited about later.
Oh, well, mate.
What's happening?
Kev, how are you?
Really good. Really good. I think it's been a great tournament to work on. It's felt really joyful to have fans back in stadiums. I think you look at some of the moments, Andreas Christensen scoring that goal for Denmark against Russia in Copenhagen from miles out, and just the reaction of the fans. Obviously, that was almost a unique circumstance given what happened to Christian Eriksen. But I think we've seen it all the way across the tournament. It's been great to have thousands and thousands of fans back. And it really does remind us of what we've been missing because, of course, for a long, long time, we've had empty stadiums. And as commentators, we do our best to try and cover that, if you like, and you try and be respectful and you try and always remind people that we can't really have a sport without the fans.
It's all about the fans. And Kev, thank you for joining us. We're speaking with UK or English football correspondent Kev Hatchard. And folks, if there's anything you'd like to ask Kev, post it in the comment section. We're going to pick out the best questions that we're going to pose to the man himself. But tell us a little bit about the atmosphere, not just leading up to today's game, but the whole over the whole course of the month. I mean, it's certainly had its ups and downs, hasn't it? I mean, the English press there is quite menacing at times, but and I guess our next guest, he's going to say how biased they are. But in your own, I guess you're part of the football media, so not so much the mainstream media, the football media, which is a lot more important in my eyes. Tell us from your perspective how you've seen the atmosphere just generate over that time.
Well, I think it was a rocky start because I think there was a lot of questioning of Gareth Southgate to start with. Was he good enough tactically? Some of the players got abuse for taking the knee. I've been massively in support of them taking the knee all the way through, and I think that's the right thing for them to do. And I understand why they've done it. And there was a genuine attempt to muddy the waters and kind of make out that this was some kind of Marxist call to arms. It's been all about distraction and all about, trying to give that meaning that it didn't have. And I think that's been commensurate with what we've seen just in British politics in general. So that was really unfortunate. But the players have done themselves proud because what they've done is they've said, no, this is our time, our platform, our stage to say what we want about racial equality, to say what we want about important issues in our society. And they've done what they've done in terms of all the criticism on a football level, because they've turned the background noise down to zero. And they've done that whether it's about taking the knee, whether it's about what formation they should play, whether it's about what starting 11 they should play. They've done a brilliant job of just cutting all of that out and focusing on the task at hand. And you have genuinely felt, as the tournament's gone on, a real momentum building and fans genuinely now believing that England aren't going to mess this up and they are going to win a major tournament.
Kev, one of the things that we saw the FA put out a video supporting the players in their stance and that they've taken before the games. Do you think the FA supporting the players has been a key thing that's been pivotal to them being able to perform at this level in the tournament?
Yeah, I think the whole setup around them, the FA, they've done a great job on the media side of things. They've done a great job on the organisational side of things. I mean, they've had the whole St George's Park development in recent years, which they've really focused on bringing those youth groups through. And I think what's interesting is that England, guys like Jadon Sancho, for example, have won major tournaments at youth level with England. So there's a feeling that some of these guys have moved up through the youth groups and that culture of winning has actually been able to seep through into all levels. And I think there's a real faith in the system. There's a real faith that Gareth Southgate is the right man for the job. And what he's very good at, I think, and Roberto Mancini is very similar in some ways, he accepts he can't do it all. He accepts he doesn't know it all. And so what he's done is surround himself with good coaches who are specialists in certain jobs. And I think that's really worked well. I think you find some coaches, whether it's at club level, whether it's at international level, who try and do it all. Southgate won't do that.
Oh.
And he sort of said that, didn't he, in his conference yesterday, that, that he surrounded himself by the people that's right for him and the football club. And I think, all joking aside, I know I've got the Italy wig on, and I'm
all for that, by the way. That's been a real debate in the media.
Shouldn't I, Kevin? It wouldn't be right to me. Yeah.
There was a big debate about a Scottish paper that had Roberto Mancini.
Oh, hang on a sec. Just hold it there. Tonchi.
Yes.
Do we have that? There it is.
There we go. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Wow.
Exactly
That's the one you're talking about.
Now, I am all for
I haven't
that.
seen that.
all for that because
look
Scotland
at
fans.
this.
There you go. There you go. I don't
I'm
even need
all
to
for-
speak. You can just read what I said.
Read it for us, Kev. This is Kev
So-
Hatchard's Twitter.
Yes, these are my words back at me. I'm all for stuff like this. Scotland shouldn't want England to win a throw-in, let alone a match. It's an age-old rivalry, so why would we expect Scotland fans not to support Italy? And I go with that with Wales, I go with that with Northern Ireland, go with that with the Republic of Ireland. Why would you want England to win? It doesn't make any sense to me. So that kind of thing, I'm all for. It's like Liverpool and Manchester United.
Yeah.
I find it a really strange. I'm a Liverpool fan. And I've got no problem with United hating Liverpool, no problem with Liverpool hating United. That is just how football works. It doesn't have to be nasty. It doesn't have to be over the top. But rivalries are what really fire us up.
Absolutely. Speaking of rivalries, now the real reason why Craig doesn't want England to win is because have a look at that. The Welsh flag and the Italian flag almost identical, except for that little dragon in the middle. But Craig, what's going on? Are you a wannabe Italian or are the Italians wannabe Welsh?
Look, as Kevin said, there's rivalry in sport, and there's good humoured rivalry in sport. And the reality is, I'm a British citizen or ex-British citizen, now Australian citizen. But of course, you want England to do well, you want Scotland to do well, you want Northern Ireland to do well, you want Wales to do well. It just happens that England are in the final, and they build themselves up so much every tournament that the rest of the British public go away from them, and it's a shame because if things were different, everybody in Britain should be really rallying around England this year because I believe they've got the team that's going to win it, and I genuinely do believe they'll beat Italy. Did I see that through? I did say that, didn't I?
On record.
I can see the gritted teeth.
If we have to.
But I think they've got the players. I think going back to Southgate, I think he's been fantastic throughout this tournament. I think the way that he's managed the press, I think the way that he's managed people's expectations. He said very early on that in the initial stages of the tournament, it was about coming through the group stages. He had a lot of stick after the Scotland game. Massive amounts of skip about how they played and the formation that they played, but he stuck to his and the coaching staff have stuck to the guns, and this is the way we're going to play. Now they're down to the end of the tournament. They've got one chance now to really create history for England as a football club, for Gareth Southgate, for all of the English fans, and I genuinely wish him all the best and all the England players the very best tonight because it's going to be a fantastic final, whoever wins. Two fantastic football teams, rich in history, two very, very good, astute coaches that know the game inside out. And it should be an absolute cracker. There we go. Have I said
was that a question or a statement?
I don't know about that one.
I was waiting for the question.
What did you say again, Craig? What was that again? Could you repeat what you just said? Kev, speaking of traditions, Kev, or rivalries, Craig mentioned the game against Scotland. Now, I can only imagine for an Englishman or for a Scotsman, the greatest rivalry at the end of the day would have to be the big game between Scotland and England. How was off the field amongst the press and all of that? How was that received? I mean, it was a 0-0 stalemate, but at the end of the day, on the one hand, it was great to see the Scots in a major tournament. There's so many Scots here in Australia, and we love seeing that happening. But at the same time, it was great also to see England and Scotland. As you said, crowds coming back. That's what it's all about. How did you see it all from your end?
I think that England-Scotland game was interesting because it felt like me to be, in a weird way, England's lowest point in the tournament, in the sense that they didn't really play very well. Scotland were obdurate. Scotland actually played very, very well, I thought, far better than they did in the other games, maybe. And that's when there were concerns about, were England too negative? Could they deal with pressure? Could they deal with the occasion? But the moment that really saw it catch fire was the Germany win. And if you think about it, that was always going to be the way, because there was a lot of talk about, do England want to win the group, or do they want to finish second and avoid the second place team from the so-called group of death, Group F? But I was always of a mind that England should try and win the group, because they knew then they'd only play one game away from Wembley. And you have to go into a tournament thinking you can win it. So they should always have relished playing either Germany or France or Portugal, whoever it happened to be. In the end, it was Germany in that last 16 game. And once they won that game, it felt like a whole load of baggage had been removed. And it felt like they genuinely then believed they could go on and win the tournament. So I think the Scotland game, it was great to see England take on Scotland in a major tournament. But on England's journey, in a strange way, I think that was the lowest point.
That moment when Muller steered the ball past the post there was a real heart-in-mouth moment in that Germany game. It would have been a different situation, of course, had that happened. What do you think about going into this game? Are they going to stick with the same 11 that got through against Denmark?
It wouldn't surprise me. I think that both teams actually are pretty well set. I think you could definitely come very close to naming the full Italian 11. And I think that's testament to how those players have performed. There aren't many players that Gareth Southgate could consider dropping at this stage. Bukayo Saka's done ever so well since coming into the team, when you bear in mind how young he is. He's dealt with the pressure incredibly well. The only change I might be tempted to make is to swap in Jadon Sancho there. But actually, Saka is very responsible in terms of being a two-way player. And that's what Gareth Southgate has really prized, that ability to not only attack, but have the responsibility to do the defensive work. And that's why he's made certain selections. I think the fullbacks will be key again. Luke Shaw down the left and Kyle Walker down the right. If you look at the way that they negated the threat of Robin Gosens and Joshua Kimmich against Germany, then if you look at Denmark, who was Denmark's most impressive player, probably their left wing back, Joachim Mæhle, and he just couldn't get involved. He couldn't get into the game, and that was down to the job that Kyle Walker did. So I think overall, I think the teams are probably ones we could pick, unless Gareth Southgate has seen some kind of wrinkle, some kind of thing he can exploit in the Italian side. But I don't think there'll be any surprises tonight.
We've just lost.
Where do you think the outlook will be for England tonight? Do you think it's going to be in those fullback areas? Because I believe that's probably Italy's weakest point, is those fullback areas. Is it the case, as you said, then, Sancho, Sterling on the right and left, maybe, or not Sancho, Saka pushing those defenders right back and trying to get, Shaw on the ball in those areas? I think, because that's certainly where England have caused problems for me. I think, Luke Shaw has been fantastic. He's had his doubters, certainly for Manchester United this year, but I think he's been superb in this tournament, probably left back of the tournament.
Yeah, I think Shaw has been one of the guys that's really vindicated Gareth Southgate's selections, because when England matched up against Germany with those wing backs and played a back three, it worked perfectly. And Shaw not only was able to defend effectively, but he was involved in both goals. So it shows, and that gave him the confidence, I think, to do what he does for Manchester United, which is make lots of chances, get forward, support the attack. I think Di Lorenzo and Emerson are players you can get in behind. I think they're players you can attack. I think as well, what was interesting is in the semi-finals, Spain won that midfield battle hands down. You won't see very often Barella, Jorginho, and Verratti kind of stretched and not roughed up, but roughed up with the ball, if you like. So not physical challenges, but made to run in the way that they were. And what Spain did very cleverly was, with the movement of Dani Olmo, they were able to drag out Giorgio Chiellini, and he doesn't like that. He doesn't like to be dragged out of position. Morata was able to do the same when he scored his goal. So that's what England will try and do. And the key to that is Raheem Sterling. His movement, I think, might tempt Chiellini out. It could disrupt Jorginho as well. So I'll be really interested to see the role that Sterling plays, because for me, he's the player of the tournament.
No, is he still there? Is he still involved in the squad? Has he not gone off to the Olympics for the diving team?
Now, Craig.
No.
Now, you can. I don't think that was a penalty, personally. I also don't think it was a dive. And I think we sometimes get into this duality whereby it's either a penalty and a dive. We think if a player's gone down, they either dived or they didn't. Well, actually, sometimes it's a bit in between. And if he's at full pace, and you know how quick he moves, and he does get a touch, which he does. I mean, the replays have showed that there's a touch on the leg and then there's a touch on the hip. He's going to go down. Now, that doesn't need to be a penalty. In the end, it was given. So I don't think he dived. I also don't think it was a penalty. In the end, England won. So it's
Craig,
fine.
you should be familiar with appearing like diving, but it's really just a bit of a stumble. I've seen you do that. All right, maybe alcohol was involved, but nonetheless.
Yeah, look, I think it was, and I think you're right. It's there will be a lot of people, and the comments are coming in now about that, about the dive. But when you're running at that speed, I think the only downside to that one for me, Kev, is that they didn't ask the fourth official to go and have a look at it. I think if the fourth official had gone and had a look at it, I think he might have looked at and seen it in a different way.
But the reason for that is that once the penalty is given, the only time VAR can intervene is if there's enough evidence to suggest there's been a clear and obvious error. So I think once that penalty is given, there's no way that's going to be overturned by the VAR, because there has to be, when the VAR intervenes, they're effectively saying, ref, I think you've made an error. And that's fine. Sometimes that happens and the ref can have another look or what have you. But on that occasion, he clearly didn't feel there was enough evidence to overturn the original decision.
And we got to live with that. So there we go.
I think it's interesting because I think if that hadn't happened and England hadn't got the penalty, I'd have still been surprised if England hadn't broken them down, because the Danes put in a huge amount of work over the tournament, over the game, and you felt like England was starting to really dominate at that stage. And, it looked like desperate, tired challenges. And in the end, even though there wasn't, for me, enough contact to give the penalty, I can understand why it was given, and it was indicative of how England was starting to make inroads.
Now, Kev, how do you think this is going to play out with Italy's last match, looking into the opposition camp now? They only had 29% possession against Spain. Do you think we're going to see a lot of that Catenaccio style coming into Italy's game, and they'll be using the pace of their front three to try and catch England's back four square, perhaps maybe on the break will be their main strategy?
No, I think they'll want the ball. I think they'll want to dominate possession if they can. It was unusual, that game against Spain. They don't like that, having that little possession. It's not really how they play. They'll press without the ball and with that energy. I mean, we've seen how ferocious that press has been as the tournament's gone on. It's a very modern Italy. They have that defensive strength. They have that cohesion. But since Roberto Mancini's taken charge, he wants them to play attractive football. He wants them to pose a threat. And with guys like Chiesa and Insigne, they're going to do that. So the only way you can really make those guys tick is to have the ball. So that midfield battle, again, as it was against Spain, is going to be key.
Now, Brenton Ray's one of our most loyal listeners. Kev, he says, England 2, Italy 1. That's his prediction. He makes a good point. I think the big crowd of around 67,500 will play a major part, no question about it. Also, that Italy have played 2 games where it's gone 120 minutes, could well play a big part, especially if the game gets stretched into the second half. Thoughts about that? Firstly, about the parochial crowd. We've Craig and I were talking off air about it with our next guest. Only a small allocation of tickets have been given to the Italian fans. Yeah, 1,000 or something like that. So a very parochial crowd. We know it's at Wembley. How much of an advantage or maybe disadvantage will that be on Gareth Southgate's men?
I think it's an advantage. It's always an advantage if you have your crowd behind you. But the mitigation of that is that Italy have played at Wembley twice already. And so it won't be unfamiliar surroundings. They haven't had to travel. They played the semi-final on Tuesday at Wembley. They've had an extra day to rest and recover. So I think that's important for them. So I think it gives England an advantage. There's no question about that. But will it completely throw the Italians off kilter? No, I wouldn't have thought it would. So I think they'll be able to cope physically. I think one of the things about their squad is it is deep. I think England have more world-class game changers. So I think that will help them, especially if it goes to extra time. But in terms of the physical side of it, I don't think Italy will be found wanting.
So given all of that, Kevin, who are your tips? Who's your tip to win this evening?
So I've gone for England to win 2-1 after extra time. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes into extra time. And I think ability to bring on guys like Grealish, Sancho, Foden, those guys who can change a game, who can take advantage of tired minds, tired legs towards the end of the 120. I think that might make the difference.
And just on that Grealish thing, what was the thoughts and what's the public's thoughts on obviously the Grealish substitution on in the semi-final? Because obviously he brought him on as someone to change the game. It didn't really happen for him. And then obviously he took him off back in extra time. What was the feelings back home towards that? So the
Grealish thing's been really interesting because I think he's almost been the kind of centre of a debate in terms of, is Gareth Southgate too cautious? Now, my feeling has always been that Grealish is a great impact sub. He's a great player, full stop. But he's the kind of guy for me that you want to be brought on 65, 70 minutes
running
because he draws contact,
yeah.
He wins set pieces, wins free kicks, that kind of thing. And he can make more of an impact from that moment on than he can from coming on at the start. But a lot of people think, I mean, if you listen to the way people talked about Jack Grealish at the start of the tournament, you'd think he was the second coming. His kind of legend grew the less he played because people were like, oh, Jack Grealish should come on and we'll win 5-0. So I actually thought, I loved that substitution against the Danes because what it said to me was that Gareth Southgate doesn't care what we think, doesn't care what the fans think, doesn't care what any pundit thinks. He only cares about what is best for the team. Yeah. And his feeling was, right, we've got the goal. Let's bring on Kieran Trippier. Let's lock it down. Let's make sure we don't do anything stupid. And Jack Grealish's reaction was very instructive because when Gareth Southgate went over to apologise for taking him off, he said, I don't care, Gaffer, we've made the final. And that tells you everything you need to know. These players believe in him. They understand what he's trying to do. And that when they're not in the team, they still feel part of the squad and part of the effort.
Yeah, look, I think he's done, as I said earlier on, I think he's done a fantastic job given everything that's gone on with Gareth Southgate since 1996 and everything that's gone on for him. I think he's done a fantastic job. It will be just rewards for him. If they do go on and win it, and I really, and I say this through gritted teeth, I really do hope that they go on and win it. Although I don't think I'd want to hear it's coming home for the next 50 years because I think that's what might happen. But I wish them all the best. Ponch, have you any last things to say to Kev before we?
Mate, apart from the fact, thank you very, very much, Kev, for coming on the show. We really, really look forward to hearing more from you. You also do the Bundesliga as well. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So German football's the speciality. So I've done Bundesliga for about 12 years now. Yeah, so it's so England, Germany's always interesting.
Yeah. Can Bayern Munich's reign be ended this coming season? Thoughts?
I think it'd be good for the league if it was, and I'd say that with the greatest of respect to Bayern, who are a great football team and a great football club. I think it would be nice for the league if Dortmund, Leipzig can get their act together and really push them, because that has happened. I think people look from the outside in, look at the run of success, and they say, "Oh, well, this is a one-team league." It isn't. It really isn't. But what has happened is, even when Dortmund or Leipzig have been able to push them hard, Bayern have found another gear, and that's what other teams haven't been able to do. But instead of trying to drag down Bayern, the other teams must look at how they improve themselves. Erling Haaland, I still think, will be a Dortmund player at the start of next season. And so I think that's very, very exciting for them and for the league. And Marco Rose, a very intelligent coach, is in charge. So exciting times for Dortmund.
Excellent. Awesome, mate. Thank you very much once again for joining us. Talk Sport. You can always catch Kev there. And hopefully, who knows, once the domestic season kicks off in Europe, we might be able to get you back on. It would be awesome to have you back on.
Great stuff. Cheers, chaps.
Thanks, Kev.
Thanks, Kevin. All the best. Good luck tonight.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
That's Kev Hatchard. And Craig, I must say that was a real coup getting Kev. He's a very, very well-known figure in European football. How'd you get him? How'd you get a hold of him? Or is that a trade secret?
No, if you really want to know, it was through LinkedIn, Tonch. So
there you go.
he follows me through LinkedIn for a number of years, and I just managed to get in contact with him and asked him would he be willing to come on, and thankfully he said yes. So no, very very grateful for Kev for coming on, and
absolutely,
he's a world of knowledge on European football. So yeah, fantastic to get his insight into the final.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuning into the Football Outwear Show. Tonight is episode 66. Proud episode sponsor is Macron Victoria, and our sponsor for the whole season, the big is in fact George Cross Football Club. They are having a big breakfast tomorrow morning at the club there. So make sure if you are available, pop in and see Mark and the crew there at George Cross. Speaking of which, here's a few messages from our major sponsors.
Looking for the best in authentic Maltese cuisine? Then you need to dine at Georgie's on Vista. Situated in the heart of Fraser Eyes, you can't go wrong when it comes to family dining. We have a menu for mum and dad, one for the kids, and one for seniors. Everyone's taken care of. Don't miss our specialty nights. Tuesday night is Parma night, where you get to choose from not one, but 5 different Parmas. Wednesday night, kids eat free with every paying adult meal. Thursday night is Members Night, where members get the chance to win some great prizes. And Friday night, join us for happy hour between 5:30pm to 7:30pm. Jim, Johnny, Jack, and their little brother Schooner are only $5 each. Looking to get an early start Friday afternoon for a punt? Our sports bar with TAB is open from 3pm Friday afternoons. To book your table, email info@georgiesonvista.com.au. Bring the family and come dine at Georgie's on Vista, 46 City Vista Court, Fraser Eyes, Plumpton.
Sport requires effort, sweat and strong will, and Macron knows it. A leading global company with Italian DNA in the production and sale of sportswear. When Macron first entered the sports world in 1971, it was a small yet strong player. Since then, Macron has been growing at a very fast pace, supporting teams, sportsmen and women at all levels, working hard to supply them with the best technical products to help improve their performances. With over 4 million pieces of stock available in our Italian warehouse and an extensive range of on-field, off-field and free-time products, we cater for everyone from amateurs to professional sporting organisations, even referees. Ranked 3rd most prominent football brand by the UEFA, Macron keeps expanding its presence worldwide, including Australia, where we are currently proud partners of Perth Glory, Macarthur FC, Port Adelaide and Parramatta Eels, and more to come. Work hard, play harder, Macron, your next teamwear partner. For more information, visit our website at www.macronvic.com.au or call us on 1800 Macron.
Welcome back to the Football Outwear Show. It is episode 66 now. And, well, we've got some great guests coming for you. And our very, very next guest is a man who's probably arguably the most cosmopolitan guest, I guess, we've ever had, Craig, as we've lost Steve again. Introduce our next guest because he's a man of, many different backgrounds, identities, however you want to call it, huh?
He is, yes. Well, I've had an Italian lesson while we've been off air, and it's great to get a good friend of mine and how can we world jet setter, shall we call him? It's Daniel Pagnoccolo joins us live from London. Good evening, Daniel.
Good evening, guys. Great to be
Daniel,
on the show today.
how are you, Daniel, mate? Now, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Awesome. Fantastic for coming in. Now, Craig sort of given us a little bit of an introduction to you. Tell us, mate. Well, first of all, you're an Italian from Melbourne, living in Russia, gone over to England. How did that all come about before we get into the nitty gritty of what's going to happen in a few hours' time?
This will take you a few hours.
Well, I met while traveling in Eastern Europe, in 2016-17. I met a girl in Moscow, and the rest is history. Got married, moved over there to live with her.
And how did you meet her, Daniel?
She was my tour guide.
Oh, really? Was it a one-on-one tour guide, or was it a tour group, or how did you stand out from the rest of the pack?
It was one-on-one.
Let's not go there. Okay, fine, mate. And first of all, before we talk about what's going to happen in a few hours' time, 2.5 years in Russia, in Moscow. Geez, mate, a massive difference culturally and I guess size-wise to Melbourne. Moscow's about 3-4 times the size, bigger than Melbourne, or 3. Is that right? Tell us, how did you adapt to the lifestyle over there?
At the start, it took some getting used to, just because of the obviously the language, the culture, the way things are run there. But I've accustomed to it, learnt the language. Not the best at it, but and speak it, communicate, and I made a great group of friends there as well. There's a few expats. There's a lot of English there that go over there to work. So just took my life from Australia pretty much to Moscow. I mean, have a football team. So that's where I pretty much learned the language. Had to learn all the football vocabulary really quickly in playing with a Russian team. So that's been an experience as well.
What level is that? What level of football is that? Is it like is it like a different amateur levels or social clubs, or how do they, compared to Victoria or compared to Australia? How do the Russians structure their football?
My league is fantastic because of the winter break. We run pretty much the same calendar as Australia. Mm-hmm. So we start in March but finish in November. So I play about over 40 games a year because we have the League Cup. Then the league I play in, it's split up in the way that there's like European league. So I play in the Serie A. There's the English league, Bundesliga. Then if you finish in the top 3 in your league or top 2, you play midweek football against the other leagues. So in like a European Cup in a way. So that those fixtures run out. So at the moment we're in the group stage in Europa League. We're still in the Cup, and of course we've got the league. So by the end of the season we're 45 games, which it's I'd like to see that in Australia. Like,
we'd love to see it.
So
rather than 20.
Yeah.
Yes. So tell us, Daniel, you're currently in London. You arrived a few days ago, and I believe you've had to go into quarantine for 5 days. Is that correct?
Yes, I took a risk after we beat Belgium. I was going to go beforehand, but I thought Belgium might have been difficult for us. So I arrived Monday, just in case we made the final, and luckily at the end of the game, the penalties, we got through. So I finished my quarantine yesterday, so I'm free to go today, which is very happy with.
What are you expecting from the game?
Like Craig said, only 1,000. I got an email. Only 1,000 tickets got allocated to Italians from Italy. So they've got a 12-hour bubble to travel into England today and travel back home. But unfortunately, if those go, they have to quarantine back in Italy for 5 days. Hopefully, all the Italians here bought tickets just to get the numbers up. Yeah. There's a fair few at the semi-finals, so hopefully a lot of them got tickets, because otherwise it's going to be a very interesting experience. A sea of white tonight. Yeah.
So are you going back to Russia, or are you going to Italy after this?
I'm going to go to Italy. I'm going to see some family, see some friends, and if I go back to Italy, avoid quarantine in Russia as well. So
we just lost Steve again. We keep losing Steve. I'm not sure what's going on there
tonight, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk us about the game tonight for us, Dan. What are you expecting from the game? Obviously, we spoke to Kevin Hatchard there about the England perspective from an Italian who follows the Serie A and Italian football very very fondly. What are your thoughts and expectations on the game this evening?
I was reading La Gazzetta dello Sport this morning, and they were talking about should that we play for a false nine or include Immobile into the team. It's just because Immobile hasn't been firing. He had his first 2 games were great, scored in both, but yeah, that's a situation Mancini needs to deal with. So I think he will start. I think it'll be Chiesa, Insigne, and Immobile up front. Then the midfield with Barella, Verratti, and Jorginho. Then Di Lorenzo, the Bonucci, Chiellini, and then Emerson will be on the left.
In terms
of
Immobile, he certainly hasn't been firing, has he? I don't think he scored yet, which is pretty significant for the main striker within the team. But I suppose when you've got Insigne, and Chiesa has been a star for me. Of course, he wasn't in the initial group of players, was he? He came in very late into the squad, but what a star he's turned out to be.
Yes, he's always had it in him. You could look back at the Champions League game against Porto. When he came on, he changed the game for Juventus against Porto. I mean, his dad scored here in '96, yeah. So he's like father, like son there. He's going to be a big influence today. He can turn the game at the drop of the hat. Also, Belotti, I'm sure he'll come on at some stage. He hasn't fired yet, but I mean, he's prolific at Torino, and he could pop up today as well if needed. So we've got those on the bench. Like Nick Stroll said last week, the team that was selected are all from around the clubs in Italy. And there's 3 players from Sassuolo. It's got some of Torino, Roma, Milan. The whole country's covered, plus the contingent that play in France.
Yeah, and how was just on obviously the contingent and what Mancini's done? If you look at the squad of players that he got, and it's not always been the case with Italy, very much a little bit like France, where they seem to self-combust at major tournaments in certain aspects. How has Maldini managed to get this squad, the togetherness of this squad back to what it should be? Because if you look at some of the celebrations and the togetherness after every game, it's been fantastic. What has he done differently with this group of players? Because there's a lot of players. I think Alessandro Diamante wrote up on Twitter, and he said that what a fantastic his job of getting a team together that was at bits and pieces and wasn't together, and he's done a fantastic. How has he done that?
I think it's the belief in the players. We all 2017 in Milan, they unfortunate loss to Sweden. Since that day, like Ventura even mentioned that Jorginho isn't in his plans, wasn't in his plans back then. So, and he's a prolific player. There's talks about him in Italy winning the Ballon d'Or. I'm not sure if he will, but Mancini has a belief in the players. He has a belief in everyone. I mean, he selected Raspadori, which he hadn't had a cap up until the friendlies prior to the Euros. So he has belief in the younger players. He has belief in the older ones. I mean, Chiellini was injured last year. Surprised, I personally didn't think he would get up in time before the Euros. I mean, at his age, he's come back. He's been fantastic throughout the tournament alongside Bonucci. So it's just belief from the older players to the younger players. And you've seen that. I mean, the first since 1990, there hadn't been a major tournament, World Cup or Euro in Italy, and being in that opening night in Rome, you could see just the expression, the emotion on the fans. It was a special night, and it's been taken from the first game right throughout the tournament.
Steve has managed to join us again. Steve, have we got you again, or have we lost you?
I think I'm here at the moment. Sorry about this, Daniel. I've missed the whole interview, but I'll have to watch it back to get your insights before the kickoff tomorrow. What would you do if Italy could get over the line and get the win in the final?
Well, I haven't thought that far ahead.
That's a good thing, probably.
We'd be very emotional. We'd be very emotional. I was quite emotional after the win against Spain. So to be in such an atmosphere that's against us tonight and to get the win will be amazing. It'll be very, very special. 2006, I was still a teenager, so I couldn't celebrate it as much as I would want to. I'd school the next day. So, but 2012 was a disaster. I was overseas at the time, and the 4-0 loss to Spain was horrible. But hopefully tonight things change and we win our first European Cup since
now, just
for a long time. Yeah.
You said earlier on that you're one of 1,000 ticket holders, Italian ticket holders that have managed to get a ticket. Where are you actually sat, Dan? Are you sat with the Italian fans?
I was having a look on the Wembley map yesterday, and it doesn't look like it.
Oh, no.
I wish you all the best for that.
Yes, because I got it as a English resident before the final, so I think they've just put me anywhere. So
is that right? Well,
I'm happy to swap with any Englishman or woman that's in the Italian section.
I've seen that happen at many tournaments in the past, and you get these elderly couple amongst all of the loud, let's call them the active supporters, and all it takes is like, can we swap with these people there? Gladly.
Yeah, I'm sure if you get down Wembley way early, Dan, there'll be somebody there that has a ticket in the wrong section.
Yeah, I'm sure. Dan, now we've got Craig, I'll let you, because this is your doing, I'll let you take all the glory with this next announcement as far as the upcoming Italian domestic competition, the Serie A. Craig, do you want to say what our major announcement is regarding that?
Yeah, well, look, we've got a lot of Italian listeners and Santa Mamone and a number of others that listen to the show on a regular basis are massive Serie A supporters. So we've spoken to Daniel, and Daniel now has agreed to come on a regular basis and give us everything going on in Serie A, which is fantastic news. You know, same as Kevin Hatchard there. I've just actually spoken to Kevin while we're on air via Messenger, and he's more than happy to come on and talk about the Bundesliga as well. So it's a great thing for us as we grow the Football Out West show. So thanks very much for committing to that, Dan. And I'm sure everybody will be looking forward to listening to your thoughts and views and topics from the Italian Serie A.
There's plenty going on in the transfer market at the moment there, and a lot of coaching changes this year as well. So it will be a very interesting year. Conte gone, so we'll see how Inzaghi takes over at Inter, and Sarri is back in a coaching role. So
Lazio, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, most of the teams went back to training this week. So in the upcoming month, July, there'll be a lot more transfer news, and once Euro's finished, there'll be much more of a focus in Italy on all the changes that are happening within the club level there. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, we put up this slide a little bit earlier. The Scottish newspaper, The National, has put up, "Save us, Roberto, you're our final hope." And there's a copy of the Italian flag and also the Welsh flag, and that's why our man Craig is jumping on board and supporting it in a big way. But mate, the local press. What's the local press been like there in England? What have they been like as far as I guess their level of parochialism? Is that the best way to describe it?
Things like this. We can be heroes.
We can be heroes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And every other paper, the Times, like I went for a walk this morning just to see what the newspapers were like, and it's obviously very one-sided. I just even opened this one. Nothing good to say about Mancini. The papers just said he was a power freak at Man City. So it's all very... I mean, I can understand. Since 1966, like last night, they had the Germany-England World Cup replay in colour here. So it's been all of it.
They didn't have that on. They didn't have that on TV. Surely not.
They did. So it's all been
give me strength.
Very exciting for everyone here in England. I mean, they've waited a long time, so I can understand. I mean, my lifetime I've seen Italy in 5 finals, and I can't remember 94, but I mean, like people were talking on TV. It's they're 50 years old, haven't seen him. So I can understand the hype, how special it is for them tonight. But hopefully they're not bringing it home tonight.
And once again, we're joined by Steve. It's just like introducing him every time he comes back on. Steve, any last... we just made the announcement that Daniel is going to be a regular Serie A correspondent. He needs to practice his English. That's what it is. Every week he gets a chance.
I was going to say, Tonchi, it's great news because none of us know a whole lot about Serie A, so we can cover all bases.
Good point. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there, a lot of listeners that do know, and they will love to know all the latest that's going on. Daniel, thank you very much for joining us. As we said, we're going to be hearing a lot from you in weeks and months to come. All the best for tomorrow's game for us here in Australia, but tonight's game in your case. And hopefully you won't be surrounded by too many of those Poms because they can be a loud mob, especially on their home turf.
Big day for the Italians here in London. They're calling it Women Web. So Wimbledon, Matteo Berrettini's in the final today against Djokovic, and then obviously the big game tonight. So for Italians in London.
And what's your plans now? What time is it back in the UK? It's 11 o'clock?
Yeah, so I've got ground passes to Wimbledon. I'm just going to chill on Henman Hill, just watch Berrettini on the hill there, and then slowly make my way over to Wembley and get in nice and early. Scout out
the plan.
It will be slowly, mate, because there'll be 100,000 people on their way to Wembley. So from one side of London to the other. But look, thanks very much for joining us, mate. Have a great day today. All the best to all the Italian supporters who are there at the game, and let's hope we have a cracker and. Thanks, Daniel. You get that flag out, mate. That's right. You get it. Brilliant.
It's good to be
guys. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to being part of the show throughout the year once the domestic season starts as well.
Cannot wait. Yeah, just a big tournament finishing and the domestic season commencing. Daniel Pagnoccolo, all the very, very best to you, and thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
Cheers, Dan.
Good on you.
Thanks, Dan.
Daniel Pagnoccolo from all the way from the other end of the world joining us. And gents, we're going to take a very, very quick break. When we return, we'll be chatting to Oakleigh Cannons, to the Oakleigh Cannons coach, none other than Chris Taylor, and he'll be joining us very shortly. Don't go away, folks. It's the Football Out West show you are tuning into.
Looking for a venue for your next event? Our function room at George's on Vista is the perfect place for your next special celebration. That special birthday or anniversary, a baptism, communion or confirmation, whatever the celebration, we can provide a fun and enjoyable atmosphere with great food. Why not hold your next corporate event in our function room? We can seat up to 100 people and can provide you with a professional environment. Whether you're looking to hold a stand-up or sit-down event, we can cater to your needs. We have meal plans and platters for you to choose from. For more information, send an email to info@georgesonvista.com.au. There's no better place out west to hold your next function than at George's on Vista, 46 City Vista Court, Fraser Rise, Plumpton.
Welcome back to the Football Out West show. It is, and you saw a little bit of footage from Saturday or Friday night's big game there at Knight Stadium, and that was the game between the Oakleigh Cannons and the Melbourne Knights. A good game that was, gentlemen. Did you watch it? Any of you guys watch it?
Unfortunately, this weekend. Unfortunately, this weekend I didn't. I normally do try to get a game on a Friday night, even if I'm not commentating with Steve. I do try and watch one, but unfortunately, this weekend was a little bit difficult for me.
Mm-hmm. But our next guest was at that game. Craig, do we have the Oakleigh Cannons coach, Chris Taylor, on the line?
We certainly do. Chris, good evening.
Good evening, guys. How are you doing?
Very good, Chris. Tonchi
Very well.
Prusak here. Great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us. Mate, before we talk about the big one tomorrow morning, our time, of course, we're talking about the Euro 2020 final. Let's talk about Friday night. It was the culmination of a rather busy week for the Oakleigh Cannons and yourself as the head coach of the Oakleigh Cannons. To take us through the last 7 days at Oakleigh, how the highs and lows, if you like. How was it the week for you?
Oh, look, I suppose it was probably a little bit disappointing for us getting knocked out of the FFA Cup on the Tuesday. Playing obviously one of our big rivals in South Melbourne, and we ended up going 120 minutes, and the deadlock couldn't be broken, and I think we went out 6-5 on penalties, so that's a bit disappointing. And obviously backing it up on the Friday against Melbourne Knights, who are a good side, but that was our 7th game in 21 days, so it did take its toll. And we've had a few little niggles, injuries. We had one player in lockdown, in quarantine for 2 weeks. He was in the apartment block in South Melbourne that got shut down, so he couldn't play 4 games. So yeah, it's been a tough time for us, but probably a good thing for us. We came through it technically unbeaten, although we went out in the cup. I think we won 5 games, drew 1 or drew 2 if you count the penalty shootout. So it wasn't all too bad.
And just on that, Chris, you say you've had 7 games in 21 days. How do you, as a coach, plan for that? Because clearly there can't be any training sessions, or if there are training sessions, it's very little. How does a coach plan for 7 games in 21 days, which is effectively a game every 3 days?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously quite correct. I mean, you can't really do much training. We generally go in and have basically a bit of a loosener up, or you just get the guys moving, a bit of massage, that sort of thing. Probably play a bit of 5-a-side, but it's just about keeping players ticking over. Then I think the hardest thing is, I think the fitness levels are quite good for a semi-professional league in the NPL. I always find with my players, it's the mental side of it that's hard. You might have a lad that goes to work at 6 a.m, plays bricks all day. Then you got to get them at training at night, and then our games are all on a Tuesday or a Friday. So on a working day, we've got games at night, and mentally it's very, very tough for players to actually turn up and get switched on and concentrate for the full 90 minutes or 120 minutes, whatever it is, and that's where I find it really difficult. But we've got quite a good squad, experienced boys. We've done a little bit of rotation, had a few injuries and that sort of thing. But I think it shows where we are. We are one of the better sides going around at the moment. But it's very, very hard to keep backing up day after day after day.
Chris, it's Steve here. Thanks for joining us tonight. You mentioned, you did have a player that you lost for the 14 days there. And it wasn't just any player. It was a key man in Joe Guest. Was he able to try and keep some sort of match fitness going from being locked in his apartment for 2 weeks? And how's his fitness now compared to beforehand?
Yeah, look, what was quite funny, I think he was doing 5Ks in his own way, which I mean, we thought it was quite good for Joe. He's got little legs, so, it was probably quite a big run for him. But, it was very difficult. And mentally, I think it's very demanding for people that are on lockdown for a period of time. Joe struggled with it, I know, but he's come back really good. Played a full game against South Melbourne and backed it up again very well on, scoring a goal against Melbourne Knights on Friday. So we're just really pleased to have him back. He's one of the better players going around, and we've got a lot to look forward to him with him being back.
Great. Oh, thanks. Now, Chris, let's turn our attention now to the big one, the big game. Now, you're a proud Englishman, so we're not going to even ask you who's going to win. But what do you think will happen in the game? Will it be a close one? Will it be a one-sided affair? Will it go into extra time? What's Chris Taylor think about the final of the Euro Championships 2020 between England and Italy?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's two things. I've got my heart and my head I think they'll go out and play really well, but there's got to be a lot of respect there for the Italians. That they're a well-structured team, always have been. Their mental side and their mental strength is very, very good. So I don't think it's going to be an easy game, but I think England have now got that bit of steam and the players coming through and the whole nation behind them, and it'd be great if they could take this one out. Everyone's been waiting such a long time for them to fulfil the potential. And I suppose that's what it is. They've got good players there, but I think they cop a bit of a hiding from the media there, and they've almost won tournaments before they even get out there, and that makes it very difficult. But I hope it all goes well for them. I think they've got great players. I think the manager's done really well. He's resisted the pressure, that comes with the media, telling him who to pick and who to leave out. Kane should have been dropped 2 weeks ago. Sterling shouldn't have been playing, and they both performed really well. So I take my hat off to the manager or the coach, Southgate. I think he's done a tremendous job, and hopefully they can pull it off tomorrow morning. I'll definitely be up there, probably having a beer at 5 o'clock in the morning before I go to work, which is a strange one.
Just another Monday morning.
Exactly, yeah. Craig.
Yeah, I was actually going to touch on Gareth Southgate and what a fantastic job I think he's done. I mentioned it to Kevin Hatchard earlier on about the temptation that he's had to change things. He's mentioned there Harry Kane, and the massive pressure earlier on in the tournament is now 1 goal away from leading the tournament as a top goal scorer. So, and then you've got Raheem Sterling coming on. But just on Gareth Southgate, how much will this mean to him as the head coach now, having been what he's been through over the last 20 years? Obviously missing that penalty. If back in the day when I was back, everybody wanted him hung. It was that intense back home. But he's got through all of it. How do you think he's coped with it all, and what do you expect from him over the next few years?
Well, I suppose everyone's looking at it. It's like a redemption for him as to what went on a few years back. But I think he's a very, very level-headed man to cope with the pressures that go with that sort of job. And he handles it really well. He conducts himself well in the media. And like I say, he's obviously got his own thoughts on it. We don't always agree with him at times, but you've got to take your hat off to him. It's not an easy job, when you're coaching and you're carrying the hopes of a nation forward. And so far, he's done that very, very well. But I think he summed it up as well. You go down in history if he pulls this off tomorrow. Yeah, he's basically a legend for the rest of his life. And it's amazing what happens. And that's where I think football's such a good game. It kind of unites nations, whether that be Italy, whether it be England tomorrow. You don't get sports that bring a whole nation together the way that football does at times. I experienced it in probably a lesser capacity coming from Leicester when they won the EPL, and going back there for the last game. It was like going to Brigadoon. It was like a magical place that everyone was happy, and that's how football can lift a whole community, or in this time, a nation, and whoever wins it tomorrow obviously will deserve it. But it'd be great if they can pull it off, because I know there'll be so many people that are just delighted with it.
Yeah, but we're not going to hear the end of it for another 50 years, Chris.
Exactly. It's coming home.
No, it's not.
Now, Craig, as Chris said, football does unite nations, and in particular, this is a graphic from your Facebook feed earlier today. How Italy has united. Now, he won't be able to see this, but basically there are Italian flags strewn all over Europe except for England. Even Wales, even Scotland, Ireland, they've all got the Italian flag, and it's a funny little, nice little graphic, I guess. But it's England are, Chris, in many ways, either you love them or you hate them. But I guess a lot of people will agree, and I for one, Southgate really does seem to be a gentleman, and I think he's probably got a lot of admirers or a lot of fans since this has all started. Maybe not with the English. The English are a cutthroat bunch there. But if you're a non-English supporter, I think there's a small, I won't say man crush, but I think there's a lot of people that have developed a real liking for the way Southgate has handled himself. Thoughts?
Yeah, look, I definitely think he's done really well, but I suppose we're a little bit like the Collingwood of the AFL.
Yeah.
Everyone hates them, but they're a big and strong, whether you call it club, nation, in terms of football and that. And I think it'd be great if they could win it. But yeah, you guys won't hear the last of it if they do.
Tell me about it. So where's the wing going to come from? How are England going to break down this dogged Italian defence, and how do you see the game being won?
Look, my worry, and I think they've been fantastic at the back, England, but it's for me, it's the back four and the goalkeeper. If they can resist, and they're very, very clever players, the Italians, and they've got, good performers. I think going forward, I think they'll compete well in midfield, and I think they've got players that can turn it on. They can bring two or three players on, the likes of Grealish, and turn the game a little bit. But I think it all comes back down to the back four, who have played very well so far. But by the same token, I think it's going to a different level with the Italians now. So. I'll be hoping that they can keep the Italians out, and then I think we've got the goods to score a goal or two at the other end.
And can I just ask about the midfield, which you touched on there? Obviously, Kevin Phillips and Rice as a midfield player. Kevin Phillips probably wasn't on everybody's sort of hit list at the start of the tournament, but I think he's grown. We've all seen it at Leeds how he's grown into that role, and he's done a fantastic job, hasn't he? As that one of those holding midfield plays there.
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit down to Southgate. There's good players going around in the EPL, English players, and classy midfielders. But I think the workman-like effort and the simplicity of the way they play, that makes them very, very good in there. They compete for everything, and sometimes it's not about playing the best performers. It's about playing the people that fit well in the team. And I think that's what he's got. He's got a good cohesion there and a good work rate with quick players, move the ball around well. So I think, all hats off to the coach for recognising that. And I think, like Phillips, for me, has been, probably a player of the tournament so far, Yeah.
All right, Chris. Well, from one big game to another, you've got the Bentley Greens this Friday night down at your home ground. They had a 3-0 win over Heidelberg this afternoon. Did you catch any of that? And how's the team looking to shape up for that particular game? And how's the health of the squad? Are you getting a few players back from injury? Because I know you've got plenty of depth with some really good mid-season signings that you've brought in.
Yeah, look, I think for us it's just having that bit of a break. So we're having tomorrow off in expectation of celebrating a few of us. But now on Tuesday we'll train, Wednesday we'll train, and obviously Bentley's another derby for us. They're a very good side. We played them earlier on this season on their ground, lost 1-0, but it was a close game, and I think it'll be more of the same this Friday. They're a very good footballing side, but I think we matched them fairly well, and there'll just be a goal in it. So hopefully we get back on the horse and start performing and scoring some goals again.
And it's a very tight league up there, Chris. We're just looking at the here. Avondale on 35 points, yourself on 31, Bentley Greens on 30, Hume on 27, Heidelberg on 27. It's a very close league, isn't it?
It is, and there's no clear standout. Although you've got to say that Avondale are the ones that have taken the league by storm. But anyone's capable of beating anyone, and you put 3 results together, and all of a sudden you move right up the table, or vice versa. 3 poor results, and you're dropping out the 6. So I think it's very, very tight, and there's sides that are well and truly capable.
Chris, on that note, we wish you all the very best for the rest of the season. Thank you once again for joining us. As far as tomorrow games is concerned, may the better team win. But you're right. I think football is the winner. It's just going to be an absolute extravaganza of football. I, for one, can't wait. The rest of us here in our various studios also can't wait. And I'm sure you are just jumping out his skin at the prospect of that England coming home, that It's Coming Home song being played over and over and over wherever you go. But wishing you all the best, mate, for the remainder of the season. Good on you.
Thanks very much. I'm just off for my Vindaloo now as well.
Classic British food.
Fantastic. Yeah, I forgot I should have played that, shouldn't I? I actually forgot that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good man. Thanks, Chris. All the best for the remainder of the season, as Tonchi said, and thanks for coming on tonight.
All right, cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
That's Chris Taylor, the senior coach of the Oakleigh Cannons. Gents, we're almost at the end, but we're going to quickly go over some of the results played over the weekend in the NPL, and we'll also have a quick look at the next week's round, some absolute corker games. Steve, you want to take us through some of the results of the games that have been played so far?
Yeah, sure. It started on Friday night with a spate of 1-1 draws. It was Melbourne Knights 1, Oakleigh Cannons 1, and then it was also South Melbourne 1, Green Gully 1. And just as Altona Magic thought they were going to get a win in that relegation 6-pointer, Dandenong City scored through Nick Kelmar to make that game 1-1 as well. And then today it was, Avondale, they got the better of Eastern Lions 4-0, and Eastern Lions finished with 10 men, while Bentley Greens went to Heidelberg and got a 3-0 win. And it's a bad spell of for Heidelberg with only 1 point in their last 3. And the match I was at this afternoon, St Albans couldn't get the win to get off the bottom. They went down 1-0 to Dandenong Thunder, who's also on a hot streak, unbeaten in 6.
Yeah, tell us about that game, by the way, Steve. St Albans, are they unfortunately shoo-in for relegation? Can they, based on today's game, can you see them, staving off relegation? Because as Craig said, it is very, very close competition, both at the top and at the bottom.
Yeah, they gave it everything they had, and they had some chances that fell to Jason Hart and Brad Murray, and the young fella Jama Boss was bouncing around supporting the attacks as well.
Yeah.
But it was sort of too little, too late really by the time they sort of started to try and throw the kitchen sink, as it were, at the Thunder, who they're looking pretty good at the moment. And Hamish Watson had a number of chances to seal the game, and he did get the early goal, but he couldn't seal it. And as one person in the comments was saying, he's trying to keep the cover off it when he should just be popping it in the corner. But it didn't matter, because there was a huge travelling contingent of Dandenong Thunder fans who really enjoyed their afternoon, especially when they got the 3 points. And since that ladder's on your screen there is being produced, they've actually jumped over South Melbourne into 8th place now. So they're actually pushing for the top 6 on their it's going to take something special to get out of the league from here. But I mean, mathematically, they are only a point behind those two in 12th and 13th. So the draw between Altona and Dandenong City was a good result, I think, as far as St Albans Saints were concerned on Friday night. But yeah, they've got some tricky games coming up as well against I've just lost my notes here, against South Melbourne, and then Hume City as well. So, yes, it's not an easy league, and at the moment, they're probably the bookies' favourites to go down. Well, we know there's plenty of bookies getting involved in this. We'll probably stay away from that.
Now, Craig, turning our attention to round 21, we've got 2 big Friday night games: Green Gully versus Dandenong City. That's a Green Gully reserve. And then the one we just spoke with Chris Taylor, the Oakleigh Cannons, Bentley Greens. How do you see those 2 Friday night games shaping up?
Look, the Oakleigh Cannons, Bentley Green one is a big one, isn't it? For I think for both sides, we talk about the big 6-pointers. It could put a bit of daylight between Oakleigh and Bentley Greens if they get a win. It's 4 points, which is effectively 2 games. So look, that'll be a cracker. Oakleigh Cannons are doing really well, as Chris said, but it's whether that 7 games in 21 days at some point take its toll. let's hope for Chris's sake and Cannons that it won't. But I'm sure it must be very difficult for the players to get up and focus for every game, having played that many games in a short space of time.
Now, Steve, on Saturday, we've got three games, three important games. Every game is important, really, really is. Avondale taking on Port Melbourne Sharks. If the Sharks want to get into that top six, they will really, really need, to maintain that spot in the top six.
Yeah,
they've got a tough game against Avondale. Hume City at home to Dandenong Thunder. That's at 5:30 p.m. Geez, that's going to be a good game. And then we've got Altona Magic taking on the Melbourne Knights at Paisley Park. How do you see those three games panning out?
Yeah, well, just going back to this evening as well, there was that result featuring two of those teams. It was Port Melbourne 0, Hume City 1 in the match down at JL Murphy. So Hume continues pretty good spell of form at the moment. I like this match between Hume City and Dandenong Thunder, two informed teams at ABD Stadium next Saturday evening. I think if you're in the area and you're free, that one is worth getting along to, because that could go either way at that one.
Yeah.
Avondale
supporters will be fun up there as well, Steve. The Turkish supporters there from Hume, and obviously Dandenong Thunder will go in.
Yeah, exactly. Good point, Craig. Both sides.
Fantastic atmosphere.
Yeah. Both sides with active supporters, and they brought their drums and megaphones and horns and flags and things today, did the Thunder supporters. So, if you want a good atmosphere as well, not only just a good match as well, that is worth getting to ABD on Saturday. Avondale should get the win over Port Melbourne. They're red hot at the moment, Avondale, and Port's had a bit of a surge of late, but I think Avondale's got too much quality and depth in their squad. And we were going to talk about Altona Magic and Knights. Interesting game. Altona, they haven't played a game. They haven't played a game at home for a little while, so we'll see how they go on their return home. They never know. They could spring a surprise, but the Knights should be. They're playing good enough football and not getting results, so this is their turn to put their foot down and make sure they do get 3 points.
So the Knights will be very unlucky. They did not get the 3 points against Oakleigh Cannons, and if ever there was a time to defeat the Cannons, it was last Friday night. Craig brings us up. That brings us to the final two games of next weekend. St Albans Saints at home to South Melbourne at Churchill Reserve at 3 p.m. And then we've got Heidelberg United at home to Eastern Lions. That's at 5 p.m. at Olympic Village. Thoughts on those games?
Yeah, look, Steve has, I think, summed St Albans up very well, although Maxi Sanchez just said in the comments that Dinamo won't give up, still have everything to play for in the bunker. And what you're going to get with St Albans. They're not going to give up right until the last minute. So they're going to give everything. South Melbourne haven't been on the best of forms. Dropped down the ladder over recent weeks. They need the win as well, as much as Albans do. Very interesting game that at Churchill Reserve, and Heidelberg against Eastern Lions, very much in the same format. Heidelberg need the win, and as do Eastern Lions. So two very very good games next week.
Yeah, gents, it's going to be an exciting. Tomorrow morning is going to be super exciting. We've got a great weekend coming up next week. Lots of good action. Craig, you and I will be commentating not an NPL game. We'll be involved with a State League 2 match next Saturday out at and this is the Rayman's Club, Brenton Ray, at Hoppers Crossing. Hoppers Crossing taking on Geelong Rangers in a past players and sponsors day. So looking forward to that. Steve, have you got any commentary next weekend? Commentary commitments next weekend?
Mate, we don't find out this early, but
I know.
Shout out to everyone down at Hoppers Crossing Soccer Club. Very good club, and good memories I have from my time there, of course.
Yeah. Now, gents, we will be taking a break next week because of all of the action that is actually happening. We're going to really have to take a nice little holiday. So, unfortunately, we will not be on air next Sunday, but we will be back in 2 Sundays' time for the Football Out West show, and that will be episode 67. It's been a great show tonight, hasn't it? I'm really excited about tomorrow. I'm going to go to bed early tonight, so I'm up nice and early and able to take in tomorrow's game with lots of enthusiasm, energy. Gents, finally, let's finish it off. Tips. Steve, who do you think's going to win and by how much?
Italy 1-0, Jorginho penalty kick.
Oh, you've got me now. I'm not.
Next?
Yeah, I'm not changing my mind. I think Italy will win in extra time. I think they'll win 2-1, and I think to score the winner will be, let me think. Berardi will come on in extra time and score the winner.
Okay. And Tonchi.
It's going to end up in penalties. Now, I don't know if it's going to be a 1-1 or a 0-0 scoreline. It will end up in penalties. And when it comes down to penalties, it's anyone's guess.
And your answer is what?
Italy. Forza Italia. Santino Mamone.
Oh, you made his night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Italy on penalties.
3-0 win to Italy then on the pundits.
All right, gents. Thank you very much for being. Thank you very much for being a part of tonight's show. Big shout out to our major sponsor for 2021, Caroline Springs George Cross Football Club, and also to our episode sponsor, Macron Victoria. And not just because Giacomo Carulli and the rest of the crew down there at Macron are sponsoring this week's episode. That's not the reason I'm saying Italy will win. I just got this feeling. But gents, all the very best. I'll catch up with you in 2 weeks' time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Good night.
guys.